Hey, everybody. Welcome to the TEConnect podcast. I'm John Martin.
And I'm Dean Reverman.
Dean, we've both been in the reseller channel for a bit. You much longer than me.
Yes, I have.
But I'm on like 7 years now, so I guess...
You're long in the tooth, dude.
Yeah, I've been a little at it for a little while at this point. But sometimes I think it's important to like kind of step back a little bit. Take a look at the big picture when it comes to this big world of B2B technology.
Got it.
Our place in it, our partners' places in it. So that's kind of what we're going to be getting into talking about. Yeah, we're going to talk about kind of the big picture today, and in particular, as it relates to one of our a little more recent partners in Intel.
Oh, yeah.
We've got David Guzzi joining us today. He's going to talk a little bit about, his perspective on, and getting an outside in the sense that it's not our day-to-day normal world that we're always embedded in, and all of our resellers are usually embedded in. So, but he's still very much, obviously, a big part of that technology conversation.
Absolutely.
They've got a very strong interest in our channel and what we're trying to accomplish out there, and resellers, what they bring to the table. So we're going to talk a little bit about, his perspective as someone in distribution, how, the channel's changed, how that influences Intel's market strategy. Talk about the partner ecosystem, why they think it's so important.
Good stuff there.
Interesting things they've seen, come out of that, and new paths maybe that we're starting to trek down there. We're going to talk about, where Intel does fit into the channel.
Lots of places.
I think some folks may be like, well, other than like, well, I know this stuff has Intel chips in it, right? But may not realize like where they fit into our channel on a broader perspective.
Of good stuff there.
And the high stakes of selling into B2B. And, how important is it to get things right and have good partnerships out of the gate? To me, that's a well done.
Did you say partnerships?
Yeah,
Yes.
One of those words we like to throw around quite a bit here on the show.
Absolutely.
All that plus our usual value to the VAR. What's TEConnecting with us? It's time to plug in and get connected.
Welcome to the TEConnect podcast. It's time to get connected.
All right, as I mentioned, our guest today is David Guzzi. He is the Vice President of Global Distribution and Partner Sales at Intel. David, welcome to the show. We are excited to have you on today. So tell us a little about your background, because I believe you've been a little bit in our world in the past. Maybe explain how that got you to Intel and what's your day-to-day like there.
Sure. Well, John and Jean, thanks for having me here to represent Intel. I spent my whole career in the channel. About 15 years in distribution. For those of you old-timers, you may remember Almo Distributing and Bell Microproduct.
Sure.
So I spent about 15 years sort of growing up with them. Then for 5 years, I actually ran an advertising agency that was focused on channel. And ironically, I helped spend Intel Inside money and Microsoft money and HP channel money through channel partners. And then I spent the next 15 years in local OEMs. So think about companies that build custom solutions for applications like content delivery networks and flight simulators.
Very cool.
During the course of that, I spent about 10 years with Intel's channel board of advisors, where with about 25 peers, leaders throughout the channel, we helped advise Intel. And then as I sort of neared the end of my career, I thought it'd be really cool to go work for an industry titan. Intel came knocking, and 3 years ago, I said yes.
There you go. That's some experience right there, right?
Yeah, I mean,
he knows our world maybe better than we do.
I don't know about that.
I'd say probably certainly better than me, but yes, I would think so. He's got the credentials there. So, well, then good. That's why we wanted to have you on, is to kind of talk about this from your perspective, where you are at Intel now, what you've experienced in the past in the channel, what you understand about our channel and how it works and how it's changed. So. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about your perspective, especially since you're on the distribution side now at Intel, and we're on distribution side within the channel itself. How do you feel like the technology reseller channel has changed since your time in it? And how is that impacting and changing Intel's market strategy too?
Yeah, sure. Well, in distribution, I mean, there's been massive change. You all have experienced it. In fact, you're leading some of that change now. The business in the past, very much a pick and ship kind of business. Tended to be local markets, focused on selling, buying boxes of hundreds and selling boxes of one. And there's been just this wholesale change in the nature of the business. Both the scale of it, distribution has become just a massive part of the channel business. become critical to suppliers, not just Intel, but many others in terms of providing scale. And, probably much more importantly, over the last, I'd say 10 to 15 years, this dramatic shift to not just being a supplier of individual components, but distributors, in fact, leading the charge with things like solution aggregation and helping drive complete solutions out through channel partners. Those have been big, big changes. I think distributors have done an unbelievable job of also navigating sort of the working capital requirements, to be able to stock, store, ship, deal with logistics, consolidate lots of vendors, go-to-market strategies, be able to create solutions that they can then help VARs and other OTSIs and other solution providers in the channel to be able to help them pinpoint where the opportunities are and help them deliver those solutions. So it's just been a dramatic change in the life of a distributor. And then, of course, the scale that our distributors are operating at. The world has become the marketplace for many distributors. Gets a little more complex on the solution side of it, but for those that can really bring excellence, the market size has expanded dramatically. So we're excited about what we see in distribution, and we're continuing to expand our investments there.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we're seeing a lot of the same things, which is part of the reason why this partnership that BlueStar and Intel are starting to enjoy. And we'll get into that a little bit more. But when we think about, the typical technology reseller and how that has changed over the last 10, 15 years, I think David hit the nail on the head in the sense that it's moved from a product sale to a solution sale. If you're not doing solution sale in the subscription world, you're not winning. You're not going to be succeeding in the future, because that is where these are the business outcomes and the types of solutions that end users are looking for. And so you have to have that understanding of the holistic optic of how does this particular solution work in a frame of other solutions, and how can I service those types of solutions. And so from BlueStar's perspective, I mean, we kind of see the writing on the wall and understand the fact that we need to start presenting more holistic solutions that can enable these business outcomes. We talk about partners, and I kind of keyed on that word in your intro, because it doesn't happen unless you have a great partner ecosystem. Right. So you have to. These are parts of the building blocks that really kind of need to be in place in order to start building that. And I don't know the in depth of Intel's market strategy, but what I love about where they're moving towards and what we've been doing with BlueStar is kind of embracing that, right? Really leaning in on the solution build. In the partner build out to build the ecosystem that can enable, these types of solutions, whether it's machine vision, whether it's robotics, whether it's, some of the edge things that we're really trying to push the envelope on intentionally to kind of push the envelope on innovation that's happening in the marketplace. But anyway, just a couple comments there. But I've seen Intel kind of change a little bit, David, and I know you've probably seen it too, right? I mean, you're embracing a different type of distribution with us. Not kind of the standard stuff, the component distributors that you guys were used to dealing with, right? Yeah,
Dean, it's interesting. I would say one of the major changes we're seeing is these motions across different types of partners and how the channel ecosystem partners are partnering together. I'd say one of the most dramatic changes is the involvement of ISVs. And I think in the past, distributors, ISVs dealt with their own thing, or, maybe there was some kind of licensing thing they did, and that was the end of it. Now it's clearly understood that ISVs are a critical part of a complete solution. And so distributors continuing to sit sort of in this middle position between various suppliers and various channel partners, sitting in the middle, can bring in the suppliers, aggregate solutions, curate some of the ones that you think are, best suited for these types of channel partners, applications, vertical solutions, and be able to deliver something closer to a finished solution. I see you all as making it much easier for both sides of that. Easier for ISVs to get to market in a meaningful way. Easier for OTSIs to be able to deliver a solution that's more complete in the vertical markets that they serve.
I agree with you, which is why we're kind of going down a path of doing what we call vetted solutions. Intel has programs through their Intel Accelerated. These are really good points when you think about the solution integrator of today, or the VAR, or the MSP, or the digital consult. You name it, right? There's a lot of acronyms around the people that are involved in the making of that. It's really important to have some vetting of these types of solutions, and I think that that's part of what we're trying to bring to the marketplace. And we've been leaning on and leveraging some of Intel's expertise in that, because I agree with you, David. The software is I don't know what you call it in the mixture, but it's really important, right? In order to make that recipe happen, ISVs are critical in there. And there's such a wild west right now on AI and other areas of, how do you know? How do solution integrators know which ones are the right ones to go? Well, that's this is the business case that we're trying to bring to the market is, hey, we've talked to these people. We've vetted them to a certain point. They're Intel accelerated. It's better when they work on their chipsets, et cetera, et cetera. So these are the types of motions that we're trying to go through to enable the channel in these solution builds out. So it's an exciting time, if you ask me, from that standpoint.
Yeah, I agree. David, I appreciate you mentioned obviously the ISV part of things, because you want to talk about something that even in my limited time in this channel feels like has changed quite a bit.
Right.
I remember when I initially coming in, like there was a lot more of a hardware focus even for us.
That's right.
And we were just starting to kind of build up our TEConnect program, starting to really build out the idea of ISVs. And now suddenly, to your point, you can't have a lot of these conversations if part of that question isn't, all right, well, what software is going to be involved in this?
That's right.
What's the software piece? Who's the ISV partner? It's never just the hardware questions anymore. So I'm curious from your perspective then, David, is there anything else about our partner ecosystem that's really kind of shocked or surprised you in the last maybe 5 to 10 years or so as things have changed? Are there any new tech paths we're going down that you think we've embraced a little bit faster and easier than you anticipated? Because I know, Intel is always pretty cutting edge. You guys are out front of a lot of stuff before anyone else. And sometimes you introduce partners to us that I look at and go, wow, like this is a whole new level that I don't know that anyone's actually thinking about yet. But, is there any time that you're doing that and we jump, our channel is jumping on board and saying, we're in on this a little bit faster and easier than you expected us to?
What has really, I would say, rapidly accelerated is the understanding of all of our selling needs to be focused on the outcome that we're delivering and not on the products. There was a time when companies thought, well, those guys are technology companies and these guys are not. And of course, now today, everybody's a technology company. It's just a question of which technologies you're employing. And the shift that we've seen, I'd say that the most dramatic one, in my view, rather than a specific technology other than AI, which of course is now consuming the world, is this notion that we have to start at the end, which is, what is a customer getting out of this? And when you're a CPU company, sometimes there's questions like, well, why do you care? Or what's your involvement in that? And why are you talking to me about this end solution over here, this thing that I need to get out of this solution, when you're a CPU company? And of course, the reason is that we're creating products to enable the best outcomes for those customers, but sometimes it's a bit abstracted. Our product's inside somebody else's, which then needs 4 other pieces and some critical channel partners to be able to deliver that solution at the end. But as the market has continued to shift its focus from product to outcome, that's actually helped Intel, because we are, of course, at the heart of those technologies.
Yeah. And I'm seeing a couple of things, when you think about some of the technology advances that are surprising. Maybe not surprising, but I'm glad it's being embraced. And I would focus in on things like machine vision, those types of things. In our world, so much of what we do deals with products, meaning if you're in logistics and you're shipping something from here to there, obviously barcoding technology and stuff like that, or in point of sale. So it's really fascinating to see, what I would call traditional solutions now being augmented through machine vision, which is being driven by a pretty sophisticated ISV community. And we are, when I think about some of the solution integrators and what they're getting into, it is definitely that. They are into, what is the object recognition at the point of sale? How can I leverage this now, this type of technology using camera technologies and stuff like that? But also the analytics, or the Internet of Behavior, to use a phrase that is so 5 years old by now, I guess, I don't know, type of a thing. But really, I mean, there is a desire to understand the analytics of what's happening in the phygital world, right? That physical, digital world, whether it's in retail, whether it's in the warehouse, whether it's in, I mean, these spaces are really starting to embrace what you can do with the vision, the machine vision, and then the analytics behind the scenes. So I'm pleasantly surprised to see a lot of that getting a lot of run right now because it's there. And one of the things that we're working with Intel, and we're going to show at VARTech if we can, is how to leverage, how to get a little nerdy in it, and how to leverage some of the CPU so that you can enable some of these other things to happen on the compute that you already may have installed or the new compute that you're putting in place. So these are the types of things that I think are going to start winning, right? As a solution integrator, you need to be able to walk in and do the song and dance on the point of sale, but also talk about how you can use the machine vision to do analytics on a store level, things of that nature, right? You have to understand it, right, David?
Totally agree. Agree. Like when we first released RealSense.
Yeah.
I think one of the main applications we saw was for physical surveillance. But now there's so much more that we can enable with that RealSense technology. And of course, you guys are out on the cutting edge there. So it's exciting to see these technologies continue to evolve and people realize new and different ways in which they can be used. I can remember when we were doing some early work on DNA sequencing, and it was just the idea that we were going to sequence DNA, and then how long was that going to take? But now, as we continue to increase the capabilities of our processors, all of that happens so much faster, and now new things will be capable of doing. So that's the super fun part of our job, as we get to see this whole expanse of partners. And then it's always exciting when we go to visit a customer and they can't wait to show us this new cool thing that they're thinking about doing, maybe they've created mock-ups for, and then eventually becomes, actual technology in labs that convinces customers that, the outcome they need, they can actually get, and here it is in live in a lab.
Yep.
I like it. Good stuff.
The other area that I'm seeing a little bit of a run, and we've been working with Intel on too, is around the generative AI. And I know that's like, oh, you just say that, and it's like, everybody's
buzzword,
saying, yeah, exactly. I'm not trying to be buzzy here at all about it, but the reality is there are some real world implications and solutions that can be rolled out, like nowish, that leverage LLMs and generative AI. For example, like we're working with a co-partner with Intel, a company called SodaClick, who's very involved in doing automated voice and things at the pull or at the drive-through for a quick serve restaurant, right? I mean, how cool is it to just interface with now generative AI basically in real time and doing your ordering? Well, this has implications, as we all know, QSRs have a hard time getting labor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, these are the types of solutions that are getting fast-tracked because there's a business need and business outcome, and the technology is there to enable it. Yeah. And so now it's just, we're excited about it because we got to get it out to market. We got to get this in the hands of the solution integrators so that they can start scaling it.
Right. Yeah. So, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, David, I think a big question sometimes that maybe VARs and integrators might have when they start hearing this conversations about us partnering up with Intel. And by now, I would hope even just if you're just listening to this conversation, you kind of get a little bit of an idea of why we're doing this.
Yeah.
But they might still be wondering, like, all right, well, how does Intel fit into our channel? Again, obviously, you guys have compute power, you have the chips. You're on the front edge of interesting technology out there. Again, maybe even a little further ahead than most of our VARs are ready to play or are expecting to play anytime soon. But why should they be thinking about partnering up with you? Why should they be paying attention to this relationship that we have with you? How can you help VARs, integrators, all these folks actually go out and grow their business?
Well, let me start by saying that when I was running channel companies, one of the key things that I focused on is what are my most important suppliers telling me is important to them? The reasons were pretty straightforward. That's probably where the pots of money were, right? And they're typically looking 5 years out. So they're telling me these things are important because that's where the market's going, and they're telling me this is where they're willing to invest. So I would start with that. What besides Intel? But clearly I'm interested in Intel. What is Intel focusing on? And go make sure that you are completely tuned in there and are thinking about how to incorporate those things and take those go-to-market, perhaps funding opportunities to be able to have success. From a more practical and immediate standpoint, we run a channel partner program called Intel Partner Alliance. We call it IPA.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the largest channel programs in the industry. And we've found some pretty interesting things about those that join us and stay committed to us. Partners because we have customers that are not in IPA and those that are. The ones that are grow at a significantly higher rate. They sell the products that they buy from us are much higher ASPs, which should translate into greater sales for those partners. The ones that take our training are much more likely to have repeat sales with their existing customers. So we find ways to try to enable our partners to be better at everything they do, typically based around Intel, but some of it is just pure, how do they run their business better? We've got a pretty extensive body of training materials. We have tens of thousands of training sessions or people that are trained every month. We have more than 4,000 every day, training courses that are taken every day. And you can imagine that kind of training across all levels of a channel partner makes them better at what they do and more likely to drive success for the companies for whom they work.
Agreed wholeheartedly. One word that I'll use to kind of further emphasize what David was just talking about there is commitment to the channel. Mm-hmm. I really feel like, when you think back, as you proposed in the very beginning here, if you're a reseller sitting back thinking about, what's happening in the world and stuff like that, most resellers that come up to me and talk, one of the things that they have on their mind, whether they say it explicitly or implicitly, okay, here's a new partner, whether it might be, are they committed to the channel? And I know exactly what they mean by that. Is this a fly by night? Is it a flash in the pan? Are they just trying to get some, whatever, my customer list so that they can scale their business?
Quick bucks,
are they committed? I can tell you Intel is committed, and David just outlined reasons why they are. Mm-hmm. Their ads training program is phenomenal. And if you put your sales team through that, your sales team will have a completely new perspective on how they should actually be selling solutions. And it's no wonder that they do better because they're going to be better sellers coming out of the gate. But also I'll give you a use case, and this gets a little bit granular, but Intel has, engineering design in, for example. So as you know, we have a robotics practice that's burgeoning and we're trying to crystallize and bring to the marketplace. Well, in order to do that, we're going to certain manufacturers and saying, hey, you need to work with Intel. You need to get the chipset in there because they have the security already laid out. They have these types of elements that you really, if you're a sophisticated solution integrator at a high level, at the higher tiers, you need to have that kind of support and understanding that the solutions that you're putting in have these types of features behind it and can be designed into the solution through the chipset. You really do need to start getting that kind of geeky, it would be the word, but you have to know the components because if you're putting in these sophisticated things, it's going to be there. So anyway, I think that Intel has proven that they have the ability to do that and the ecosystem to build it out, which is why, again, it's exciting. But when you think about it from a reseller, you want that, right? Right. This is the kind of stuff you need from your partners because you're putting your company on the line when you go in front of your customers. It's got to be backed with that kind of stuff. So anyway,
to me, I think the biggest thing here is the fact that Intel is investing in our channel.
Yeah, right.
That you're taking an interest in what we're doing here. Mm-hmm. That's a sign we're doing something right. Mm-hmm. I mean, again,
collectively doing something.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. As a whole, as a channel as a whole, because I think most people, if you tell them hey, there's Intel, they're gonna like, okay, I know who they are.
Yeah,
they're
I've seen the commercials.
Yeah, they're one of the biggest and greatest technology companies out there. Yep. And now you tell them all right, well, they're specifically invested in us, in our channel, in what we're doing when it comes to bringing solutions in B2B and the edge and all these partnerships that we're building, this ecosystem that we're building here. They're very invested and interested in that and building it out, and it's heading in a direction that they feel is the same direction they're headed in.
Yeah.
That to me is a great sign that Intel is invested in us, that they care about what we're doing, and that we must be on the right track going forward. That we've caught their attention to go like, hey, we're on board. Let's how can we help you out? How can we help move you and your folks and your partners to the next level? And in my mind, if you're looking for the reason why Intel fits and how they fit, it's the fact that they're invested. It all tells you that, all right, there's something we've got going here that's making sense, and it's moving everyone forward where technology's heading in the future. Let's keep running with it.
That's right. Yep.
John, I love that comment. We when I joined Intel 3 years ago, one of the things that most surprised me when I first joined was how much money we invested in selling through our products. So no surprise to anybody when our major OEM customers are acquiring products from us. That's important. Of course, that's our actual invoicing. That's what we record on our P&Ls and whatnot. But Intel's investments don't stop there. We spent huge money to sell that product through the channel to make sure that our big OEM customers are successful throughout the downstream ecosystem. So that was one big surprise to me that I was really happy to see, and it points to your comment about the investments we make into the channel and into these partners. And remember, many of them we don't know. We rely on our distribution partners to manage all of those relationships, but we understand conceptually their criticality to our success. So we continue to invest in the channel. And then I don't think we can have a conversation about Intel and investments and not touch on our IDM, we call it IDM 2.0, basically the huge investments we're making in our foundry business. So maybe we should just touch on that for a minute.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So when Pat Gelsinger came back as CEO after leading VMware for more than a decade, he pretty quickly determined that the most important thing we could do was to become a foundry business. That in addition to, just building millions and millions of CPUs for ourselves, that this capacity and capability that we had goes all the way back to our founding in terms of being able to be excellent at transistors and packaging them in such a way that they could drive technology innovation and improve the lives of people everywhere in the world. He felt that we needed to take the next step, which is there's only two other foundry companies on the planet that really can produce at scale, TSMC and Samsung. He felt that there was enough demand and that the supply chain for those two was too insecure for the world. So he made this commitment that we, Intel, were going to go invest in developing a foundry business and in expanding our capacity in places other than Asia. What that has manifested itself into is significant, more than $100 billion worth of investment into plants. Major plant being established in Ohio. We did a significant expansion to our capability in Oregon. We're underway in one in Arizona, which is giant. In addition to that, we've expanded the one we have in Israel. We're expanding one that we have in Ireland, and we're going to build an entirely new foundry in Magdeburg, Germany. All of those investments are in places other than in Asia, where we also have fabs and advanced packaging manufacturing. This is a huge bet for Intel. But what's really important is that's also a bet on the channel, that the channel will be able to deliver the volume requirements to fill those fabs. It's a huge bet that our competitors and other types of semiconductor companies are going to say, wow, you know what? Intel has this whole other capability that's operating as a totally separate company that we can rely on for reliable supply into other channel partners. So some of our competitors we think will end up being customers in the foundry business. So sort of two giant sets of investments that we're making. One is in a little bit more traditional way to drive sales through our channel, and another to create a completely separate business foundry.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yep. I see the connection.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap up our main conversation here, talking a little bit about the high stakes of selling into B2B. And as someone, in your case, that's been on both sides of the fence, that has seen what it's like on our side, understands the distribution world, understands the reseller channel, Do you have any particular advice for folks that are just trying to get opportunities right from the start? Again, they understand like, hey, I get this big ecosystem. Yeah. I understand we've got all these wonderful vendor partners. We've got a giant pool of ISVs potentially to pick from. Mm-hmm. We've got a distribution partner in BlueStar. We've got folks like Intel investing in the channel, but really, at the end of the day, I'm just trying to win some business and win some big opportunities.
Pay some bills around here.
So I do have a couple of pieces of just simple advice of like to make sure that that they're on the right track whenever a great opportunity lands in their lap.
I'd say probably 3 things come to mind. 1, be crystal clear on your value prop. This seems so basic. It seems so like it should be easy, but what is it that differentiates you from your competitors? Be absolutely clear on that and be able to communicate it clearly. And every single person in your company, no matter what their role is, ought to be able to say in 10 seconds, this is why customers benefit from working with my company. So be crystal clear on that. The second thing is, John, I think it was you mentioned our ads methodology. Please look at it. Piggyback off it. Assess, discover, design, and scale. It's really, really good material. It's yours to go use. And it's really about assessing your opportunities, your pipeline, determining which ones, really are worth going after. Not every opportunity is a good opportunity, right? Get rid of the bad ones quickly. Don't chase pipe dreams. It's just like a waste of time. So use our ads methodology. And the third one I'd say is, to the extent that you're able, give your customers an opportunity to try whatever it is that you're delivering. If it's a service, if it's a product, if it's a solution, whatever it is, if you can get to the point where either you or critical partners like BlueStar, perhaps they've got a lab set up that you can piggyback off of, give your customers every opportunity, even if they say no. The fact that you're saying, come on in and check it out, gives them a better sense of confidence that, oh, these guys are serious. Like, I can go down there and actually use it. It must work. So those would be the 3 that would come right to mind, John.
I love the last one there, the proof of concepts, really something that differentiates people in the B2B world. You can talk a talk, you can walk a walk, but if you can show people and say, you know what, why don't we put this in your place?
Right. And not just a demo unit.
Not just a demo unit.
Here's the device I want to sell you.
The
solution.
The proof of the concept of the solution. That's it. That's exactly right. And so, BlueStar tries to do that. We through our product managers that we have, and we try to enable them to do that, to work with the resellers that understand that motion, that it's best to try to get the solution in the hands, because as we all know, most solutions are like 80% of the way baked, but there's a lot of customization that happens. The best way to get into that is to start doing a proof of concept. You got to learn from it. You got to try. You got to try. You let the end user try before they buy, and you got to learn from and adopt to it while you're going through that process. Brilliant, right?
And as always, the burden is not on you and you alone.
No,
it's not just you're not an island. Yeah. You can reach out, you can ask for help, you can get assistance, you can have partners, whether it is all the way up to the vendors, to us, to folks like Intel, to ISVs, whatever it is. There's people that we can help partner you up with to go out and build these solutions out and put those proof of concepts out there. I also like, David, you mentioned at the beginning the value prop part of things.
Yeah,
that's something
that
when
was
I was
his marketing hat.
Well, back when I was in sales, that was always something that was ingrained in me at every type of sales I was in. How important it is to be able to talk about who you are and what you do, not just getting caught up in specs, not getting caught up in here's the wide range of products, here's the 50 different products we could potentially use for this solution, but just explaining who you are, what you do, what makes you different, why they should be partnering with you, the value that you bring beyond because again, they can go to 5 different potential, partners and find probably the same or very similar solution. But what's setting you apart that why they need to work with you in your business? Because I feel like most companies don't do that as much as they should. And when they do, that will put you a little bit higher on the pedestal of the potential partners maybe they're looking to work with for an opportunity.
Yeah. And it's got to be genuine, right? I mean, in today's world, you have to, but even where David went, all your employees have to be able to be knowledgeable of that as well, which is really critical because I mean, it takes that kind of all-in mentality in order for you to present these. Look, solution providers today have to tell a different story than just features and benefits of a particular product, right?
Yep.
And in order to do that, you really have to, across the board, your employees need to understand the value prop that you're bringing in. I love those three. Those are good.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the other great benefit of every employee knowing the value prop is that they feel like they're an important part of delivering on it.
Yeah.
Like
which is necessary.
Between, hey, my work matters. I'm helping deliver X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
So it can be like a motivator and something that makes them, so sort of more connected to the company's overall mission.
Yeah. Agreed.
Exactly.
Agreed.
All right, well, we're going to let David tell us a little bit more about some of the education offerings that Intel is bringing out to us in a moment. But before we do that, we have to, as always, thank our sponsors here on the TEConnect podcast.
Right.
I'm going to shout out Intel today. You guys have been supporting our TEConnect program, supporting the podcast. David's our third Intel guest, I believe, this year.
Yes.
In fact, I think all three of them have been named David so far. So
wait, ongoing theme there?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think apparently that's a thing. If you work at Intel and your name's David, you're going to show up on the podcast at some point or another.
Right.
So,
love it.
So we very much appreciate Intel's support of our program and what we're trying to do with our ISV community in particular. And you guys have introduced some amazing ISV partners to us. Every time I see a new one come through, like you mentioned SodaClick earlier, FitMatch, some of these fantastic folks that we've had on the podcast, some that we've done some marketing campaigns with. I'm always impressed by how forward thinking and outside of the standard box of of offerings that they're putting out there. So we appreciate that. Hey, if you like our program, if you like our show, hey, you got to let us know in some way. Either you can, just hit like, leave us a review. If you're listening onto a podcast of your choice, there's an option to leave a review. Please do that for us. We love getting those.
Or subscribe.
Subscribe.
They can always subscribe, right?
Subscribe. More importantly, share it with somebody. That's a great way to, if you got a favorite podcast or something that you enjoy, sharing it with someone else can be hugely beneficial, not only for that, particular podcast or whatever to grow their audience, but also just to grow your connection with someone else, maybe with one of your customers.
We make you look good.
Yeah, exactly. or someone else that you just want to, grow a partnership with and have something relationship with wise. Believe me, more often than not, I'm sharing podcasts with folks like, hey, try this podcast as we haven't listened to it yet. So please do that when you can. And as always, don't hesitate to reach out to us. The big reason is, one, just to tell us what you like about the show, but also, what do you want to hear about on here?
Yeah, give us an idea.
What should we be talking about? Who should we be talking to? This podcast doesn't work if you don't tell us what you want to get out of it. So,
but here's the good part. Tell them what they win, Johnny.
They win a TEConnect podcast t-shirt.
That's right.
The new and improved TEConnect podcast t-shirt. Go back a couple episodes. I was wearing it on one of them. I don't remember which one it was, but check it out. It's just
by giving us an idea.
Yeah, it's a great shirt. You get a free t-shirt just by sending an idea to us. Again, even if we don't use it, even if I say we already did that 5 episodes ago and direct you to that URL, I'll still send you a t-shirt just for making the effort.
You can't lose.
Don't hesitate to reach out for a couple places. You can find us. One, BlueStar's Facebook page, BlueStar's LinkedIn page. You can also email us anytime. TEConnect@BlueStarInc.com. All right, let's wrap things up today. Wrap it up. I'm getting all
wrapped up yourself. Yes.
Yeah, let's wrap things up today with VAR value. First of all, this is where we try to give maybe a little bit of a takeaway to our audience. Maybe you were busy doing stuff and you didn't get to hear every little bit of this particular conversation. You're trying to figure out, all right, what am I really going to take out of this today? So, we've mentioned this all throughout, but Intel, much like BlueStar, you guys are very focused on the importance of those solution-based selling, or as you guys like to call it, outcomes-based selling. The idea of selling, to what the customer actually needs and what problems they're trying to solve, and not just the gadgets that you have on hand that you're trying to clear off of a shelf somewhere. So how is Intel helping drive that? You talked about the ads training earlier. Maybe if you want to dive a little bit further into that, are there any other educational programs that you're able to offer up to our VAR partners to go out there and get better at selling these solutions and outcomes-based programs?
Yes. Well, first, join Intel Partner Alliance, IPA.
Yep.
It's pretty simple. I think you have to give us your company name and an email address. It's about that easy. And on there, you'll find something we call Partner University. It may be the single highest rated part of the IPA experience, which, by the way, our NPS is over 60. So it's clearly meeting the needs and expectations of our many channel partners. Partner University, I mentioned earlier, has tens of thousands of people that are getting trained, tons every single day, and there are 35 different competencies and certifications that you can acquire. So some of those are hard. Okay, we didn't make this easy to try to sort of boost the numbers. They're meant to be meaningful training. It's not just about Intel technologies. It's also about solutions and the applications that our technologies help make better. So I would really encourage you to join IPA and then start taking advantage of the training, and then seek those 35 or so, or whichever ones make sense for your business focus. The ads training, again, that's a little bit more of a sales and marketing effort, and it gets you thinking about managing your pipeline. It won't be necessarily to create the top of the funnel pipeline so much as how do you manage once those hit. Sometimes smaller companies, maybe they don't have as many people who have been through some more structured training of how to go to market and that sort of thing. The ads is almost like hitting the fast forward button, or how do I get there faster without creating my own training or paying a ton of money for a consultant to come in and help teach my sales organization how to take something from a possibility into revenue at the bottom line. So the ads training is available to you. I think you'll find that it's easy to digest. We require it for most of our sales organization, and it's generally really well received. So please do that. ADDS, and it was developed by Intel and used throughout our company.
Perfect. Yep, it's good stuff. And BlueStar is going to try to start leveraging that, rolling into 2025, the training that David was speaking of, and rolling that into some of our training to enablement. It's really, really good stuff. Yeah, it is. Yep.
There you go. And I'll drop a link in the show notes to the IPA, so that if anyone's interested, they can go check out some more details on that.
Well, there you go.
All right. Well, hey, let's wrap things up as always with our favorite segment each week. What's TEConnecting with you? This is where we get to have a little fun and talk about something in the world of tech, innovation, science, discoveries, business, whatever's just caught our eye we feel like chatting about and rambling about today. So, David, I'll let you kick it off. What's TEConnecting with you right now?
Well, I'm a huge soccer fan, and still play.
Oh,
and
nice.
I'm fascinated by all things soccer. Have a passion for the Premier League, but I'm also fascinated by statistics. And so the application of AI to soccer to better understand what's really happening in a game. Because many times we follow the ball, maybe we follow some of the players, look at the shape, see the action, complain about the ref. But it's hard to know in a game that's so free-flowing and improvisational in nature. There are no, it's not like American football where you've got a set play and everybody runs it for 4 seconds and you stop for 30 and talk about it.
All right.
So the sort of my desired outcome is to better understand what's happening in a game real time through the use of AI and statistics. So that's sort of, I view that as like something that should be achievable in the very near future. My greater desired outcome is I want to be able to simulate playing with my favorite players. I want to put on a pair of goggles and I want to feel like I'm at Old Trafford. I got Rooney on my left. I got Ronaldo on my right. I got Scholes feeding from behind. That's my tech dream. And if any of your audience has a way to make that a reality, please reach out to me.
Yeah, David will be an early investor for you if you have that capability.
Exactly.
Dang, that sounds, yes. I never even thought about that.
Awesome.
Yes.
I'll take that to the next level because I'm a big baseball guy. Like, give me the ability to go out there and and swing a ball that that Randy Johnson's throwing at me, and or have Babe Ruth drive me in on a home run or something.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for. I don't know that I could play with these virtual.
Well, people, I know it would have to. I would have to be bumping up my own personal skill level. It would have to be like
right.
Simulating me as like a much better actual potential player than I ever could have been in my entire life. But yeah, that'd be fun.
I like the real time analytics too. Soccer seems like the the sport that would be good to do, right? Like seeing what the probability is going to be and things of that nature. That would be kind of cool.
I think it'd be a great way also to keep people a little more invested in soccer in some ways. I know, like, especially American audiences that didn't necessarily grow up with soccer. And I think soccer's growing much more here in America than it ever has before, obviously.
For sure.
But it's still like a sport that sometimes people talk about as like, well, that's just kind of slow, isn't it? Like, you go through like a whole half hour with nobody scoring sometimes. Yeah. I think maybe if there was a little more analytic stuff going on where people understood how improbable a particular, kick was, or how unlikely a pass was to be completed the way it was, maybe people would understand just how much there's actually happening out there on the field,
or what this substitution
even though goals aren't being scored.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I like that. I think that's cool stuff.
I like it too.
All right, Dean, what's TEConnecting with you right now?
All right, so you believing in this hype around hydrogen-powered vehicles? You brought it up the other day.
I think I did.
David, is this on your radar, these hydrogen-powered?
Nope.
Okay. Well, there isn't. Well, in kind of bridging the gap here, air taxi startup Joby Aviation. We've talked about.
I feel like
them
we have
before.
at some point. Yeah. I mean, we're 200 episodes in.
There we go.
We've talked about everything at some point.
Successfully carried out a 523-mile test flight using hydrogen fuel. This is a prototype aircraft, if you will, that covered the 523 miles in basically 5 hours.
Right.
And the only thing it emitted was water vapor. So this is, I think you were talking about the hydrogen. You're like, David, I've got an EV. So, John's like, well, I think you were too much of an early adopter. I mean, this hydrogen is going to be the next wave thing. And maybe it is. But as a taxi, I did the math here, 523 miles in about 5 hours. That's only around 100 miles an hour. So it's not like, and this is a flying taxi. I'm sorry. This is the aviation one, the one that takes off and can take you. If it's only going 100 miles, I mean, that's like a helicopter, I guess. And so I don't know.
It'd be for like local around town travel.
Yeah, they're billing it as regional travel is what they're billing it. Like if you want to get from Boston to New York, or if you want to get from Cincinnati to Nashville, or something like that. Okay,
and this drop your carbon footprint a little bit in the process.
There you go. Or maybe I can see this becoming like in flight a more of a regional hub thing. Like people will take people from Cincinnati down to Atlanta. Using that, and then you get on the big jet to go wherever else,
overseas or something like that.
It is fascinating, but when you pull off a successful flight of 523 miles, I guess it's getting kind of serious, right? Yeah. And the only thing they had is water vapor coming out of the back end. Kudos.
That's impressive.
Kudos to them. Yeah, so we'll see. What's TEConnecting with you, my man?
Well, some point earlier, you mentioned the idea of generative AI having practical use cases and purposes, beyond what we were already using.
Did you find one?
Well, I've had a pretty interesting one, which is apparently going after scammers, like phone scammers. So this is an interesting Guardian article. Again, link will be in the show notes as always to check out here. But basically, a professor from the, Macquarie University, I believe it's in Australia, founded a company called, I believe it's called Apati is the name of it, which is the name of the Greek goddess of deception. And essentially, it's a term called scam baiting, which is when scammers call.
Yes.
An AI chatbot actually picks up and has a conversation with them. And we're not just talking about just basics, because apparently something like this had previously existed. It was called the Lenny bot, which was just like programmed to be like a kind of a cranky Australian dude or whatever who would repeat some similar lines over and over again.
This is every telemarketer's nightmare. Right.
And it was meant, right. And initially it was meant more just to piss off a scam artist.
I got you. Yeah.
And frustrate them and get them to hang up. Yeah. But now what the idea behind this is that it's more real sounding voices. There's lots of different personalities they've created with different accents and different, whether they can, some might be antagonistic, some of them might seem receptive, some might be, seem like they're elderly and confused or something. And essentially the idea is to keep these, they call them victim chatbots. And the idea is to keep the scammer online and on the call for as long as possible to keep gathering information about how the scam works, the kind of questions that they're asking, what they're expecting to get out of people, so that they can use that to help inform, more people.
Authorities and the police
what's happening,
and
right?
Stuff like
exactly.
That.
As well as potentially even tracking down the scammers if they can.
I'll be darned.
So basically, they want this engagement. They want to keep them online for as long as possible, learn as much as they can, and report that where they need to, and keep building out this database of like what's happening in the world of phone scamming. Now, a couple of interesting. There was the article was good to point out some potential pushback on it, which one was that scam baiting in general has been in the past considered as a little bit of a tricky situation because a lot of times you would just have regular people just trying to fight back.
Sure.
And that became almost like a vigilante kind of thing where maybe they were trying to shut them down or whatever and being antagonistic or whatever. And they mentioned that sometimes these scam callers are sort of almost like indentured, servitude for a company potentially, and that's doing this just in to make as much money as they possibly can, and and really don't have a lot of agency. They personally themselves are not the evil scammer. They're just doing a job bidding that was being forced upon them essentially. But noted that, hey, this kind of helps replicate, prevent that from being an issue because there's no one like yelling at somebody. It's just simply engaging for as long as possible to get information. The other part of it though is that, and this is where this particular Australian company has stepped in to say that a lot of these times, how do you know what a call is going to be a scammer? Because the point of this is a call has to come in that a phone company has identified as a scam,
right? And
then push it to this service, to do all of this part in it. But how do you know for sure if that's the case? Now they've got some apparently very good technology to identify that based on previous phone numbers called or time frames and whatnot to be able to accurately do that. But there's also hey, be careful because maybe you're sending a legitimate call to be frustrated by this, scam baiting AI instead.
I don't know, man. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Now I'm wondering, when does it get to what are the people called when they have hostages and they bring in the negotiator?
an actual hostage negotiation.
Yeah, hostage negotiation. That's AI. Well, just keep the guy on the line.
Hey, you never know, man. That could be.
Is that the next manifestation?
That's going to completely change the next Hollywood film or whatever, where it's supposed to be Sam Jackson being the negotiator. I literally think Sam Jackson did a movie called The Negotiator once.
Yes,
where he's supposed to be just on the phone the whole time, whatever. Now
we got AI.
Now it's going to be the whole movie's you're just showing a computer screen, just talking to the suspect the whole time. Instead,
see what we've created. See what we've created with this stuff.
Exactly.
That's good stuff.
So
man.
either way,
anyway.
I think we all would appreciate a little fewer phone scammers in our lives.
You got that right, brother.
The lives of our loved ones.
Indeed.
All right, that's what's TEConnecting with us. David Guzzi with Intel. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate having you on the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Hey, we got to unplug today, but until next time, go out and engage some scammers. Go watch some soccer and understand that the beautiful game has more than you think going on the field at all times. And by all means, try out a hydrogen powered flying taxi.
There you go.
If you have
the opportunity.
And as always, folks, please stay connected. This episode of the TEConnect podcast is brought to you by Intel. The average point-of-sale system stays in the field for at least 5 to 7 years. That means the investments that your retail customers are making today will impact the effectiveness of their customer engagement for years to come. With workloads powered by AI coming into the sector fast, investing in Intel Core-enabled infrastructure powered by the Toshiba TCX 900 is not just a sound investment for today, it's an insurance policy on what is coming tomorrow. Which I think most retailers would like an insurance policy to stay ahead of innovation and change.
You think?
Yeah,
yes. Future-proofing, those
be my assumption,
Be my assumptions.
The TCX 900 POS system offers the best-in-class modular solution that drives smarter retail transactions. It's a powerful yet sleek design that boasts one of the smallest footprints on the market today, giving retailers a modular, compact, and efficient solution for their stores. The TCX 900 is the next gen of POS experiences, featuring a 13th generation Intel Core processor, the first DDR5 memory module, an integrated Wi-Fi 6E antenna, and optional Bluetooth support, and a rich set of integrated I/O ports for nearly any configuration. Check out the link in the show notes or contact your BlueStar representative to learn more. TEConnect Podcast is brought to you by Elo and the 7-inch Elo Pay integrated payment POS system. Elo Pay packs all the power that you need to run your point of sale. It's got a complete 7-inch HD touch display. It's got integrated payments. It's got an Android 12 OS. It's got Qualcomm SD660 processor, the compact enterprise-grade terminal, and it delivers modularity that merchants require. Of course, this modularity.
Modularity, absolutely. Of course.
That's that. They could change their name to modularity. Some other companies. Some other companies probably already got that, but that's pretty much like their other name, their middle name, if you want to say that. Now you can dock it to a printer stand, you can place it on the counter, you can integrate it into the Z70 stand. EloPay offers comprehensive payment services that enable merchants to process transactions with confidence, access to multiple payment applications, end-to-end encryption, secure tokenization, robust terminal management services, easy-to-use APIs for quick integration. Merchants can get started quickly and securely, allowing their customers to, say it with me, dip, tap, and swipe. You think by now you would have that down.
Yeah,
physical cards, contactless cards. I'm telling you, man, that dance.
That is, yep.
Maybe you do that at Vartech.
Ooh, I like it.
Elo, invite us to your booth at Vartech. We'll come up with a dip, tap, and swipe dance.
There you go.
And try it out there. Put it on TikTok or something. EloView device management, essential edge enterprise support, and Elo Care protection. The Elo Pay 7-inch POS system is ready to deliver on your customers' needs. Contact the BlueStar Elo team to learn more.